Hello everyone. In this video, I'm going to explain with you how to make a survey. At the beginning, it is important to know what is the meaning of a survey. It is a research method used for collecting some data or information from a group of people to gain information and insights into various topics of interest. So once I am making a survey, so I must have a target. I must have a goal for collecting some kind of information. So sometimes I will need some statistics about something. I will need some numbers. I will need some percentages. I will need to know the opinions of some people about something, about an issue, about some information. So I will make a form or a survey, and I will ask some groups of people to fill down these questions in order just to collect these answers or to collect these data and then to analyze them and come up with results. Actually, we have so many kinds of surveys. You can get them through searching on Google, but for today, I'm going just to focus on the online survey that is made by the Google Forms that I will explain after some minutes. Now, an online survey, actually, simply you will make a form that has some questions. Some of these questions will be personal. I mean by you have to ask the audience to come up with their ages, with their gender, for example, with their nationalities. That depends on the type of data that you need them to fill down. And then you have to go through the questions. Now, the questions will be discussed later on once we go to the Google Forms, but I will tell you some brief information and details about these questions. That is, we have close-ended questions and open-ended questions. And actually, it depends on the survey that you make or the research that you need. For example, in close-ended questions, you will need the audience just to have some specific or limited answers. And these types of answers will be on the shape of multiple choice, sometimes rating or checklist and so on. Whereas in open-ended questions, you will ask the audience to write down a paragraph or to come up with their opinions. So they will write down a small paragraph in a box. Okay, now for the types of questions or for the types of surveys, as you see, we have multiple choice questions, rating, Likert, matrix, drop down, open-ended, demographic, and so and so. And here in this file, you are going to see some details about every single type of these surveys and the shape of questions. For example, multiple choice, you will see something like that. You will have some limited answers. And here in the rating, you have to come up with a rate or percentage and so on. And here, for example, in the matrix questions, you have to match some information in columns with some information as in rows. So you have to come up with matches here. I'll tell you something about, this is the open question survey. It is on the shape like this. So you will have a question and you have to write down something here by yourself in this box, in this space. So you'll be limited with the number of words, but it's okay. You can say whatever you want. Okay, and so on. I will tell you all of these details after some seconds when we go to the Google Forms. But by the end, I need to tell you something about the format. Okay, now for the format of the survey, it is so necessary to start by an introduction. And this introduction will include your name, the researcher, and your position, if you are a student or if you are a researcher or if you are a teacher or if you are a higher studies, for example, higher studies students, graduate student, undergraduate student, and so on. And what is so important is the reason or the aim. Why do you collect these data? It is so necessary to tell the audience, your audience, why do you need them to answer these questions? What is the importance of this information for you and for your research? This is so important in order to start your survey by. Okay, then you ask your audience some questions regarding their, I mean personal questions. It depends on the type of survey or the research that you make. If the answers will be different, if the audience is male or female. So you can ask about the gender. If he is an old man or a young man, so you can ask about the age. So you can ask the questions, I mean personal questions, but you have to keep the privacy of audience in order to give them the ability to answer. So some audience will say, no, I will not tell something about myself. I'm afraid to say my opinion and blah blah. So it's good to avoid some very personal questions. So it's good to include some questions like age, gender, educational level, sometimes the salary, sometimes the place where do you live, the university that you've graduated from. Anyhow, it depends on the topic of the research or the topic of the survey and the kind of information you need. Okay. Now, there are some recommendations actually to make your survey. At the beginning, you have to define objective. The survey will have no meaning if the aim and the result unplanned before deploying it. You have to have a very clear and accurate aim or target to make this survey, and you have to tell your audience about that. Number two, the number of questions. It is essential to avoid redundant query or questions in every way possible. You don't have to come up with some repeated questions or unnecessary questions. You have to be limited. You have to be accurate and to the point. Try to avoid some unnecessary questions that will not be important for your research, and it will not be interesting for your audience. Something else, the language of your survey, it must be simple. Try to avoid the complicated question or the complex question. Try for your language to be accurate and very simple and understood for or by your audience. The question types, there are several types of questions, and based on the topic you are making a research about, so you can choose the type of question. Consistent scales. If you use written scale questions, make sure that the scales are consistent throughout the research study, using scales from -5 to +5. This is if you want to make a scale. This will have, if you need some statistics in your research, but sometimes it's not necessary to include, it's not necessary to include rating or scales in all surveys. And the logic of your survey. Logic is one of the most critical aspects of the survey design. If the logic is flawed, respondents will not be able to continue further or the desired way. Logic has to be applied and tested to ensure that on the selecting an option, only the next logic question shows up. So there must be a logic between one question and the other. Try to have something like systematic questions, starting from the very beginning, of the pyramid till reaching the bottom of the pyramid. Okay, so these information are so important to start your survey by. It's good to know that we have to start by an introduction and some questions about the audience, and then we have to go through the questions of the survey itself. Now I will tell you how to start the survey on Google, the online survey. Okay, now, so we have to go to Google and to write Google Forms, do the google.com/forms, and then we're going to go through this site. Okay, so we have to sign up an account. If you have an account already on Google, so you have to sign in. Then you have to go through these, okay. We have to go through these forms. So you have to have a form at the beginning. So I already have some forms here. I will choose a new one. Okay. So this is the new one. This is the form that I have. I will tell you something about here, something about the some details. So at the beginning, I have, this is my account. Okay, and for these options, I will tell you something about them later on. So we have make a copy, move to trash, get a pre-filled link, print, add, collaborate, script editor, and so on. Here we have send. This will be used by the end of the form. So we can use we can send it to anybody we need. And here, if you want to preview it after making the questionnaires and so, and here you can customize it. You can choose the color you need, and so I will tell you about all of these details once we reach it. Okay, so at the beginning, I'll tell you something about the form itself. So we have questions here, we have responses, and we have some settings. Okay, at the beginning, it's good to start by having a title. And this is so important, as I've told you before. It is so necessary to have an introduction or a title for your survey. So for example, I will make the title, like for example, e-learning, learning at schools. So this is the survey that I will make. Okay, now for the description, you have to make an introduction. So you have to say your name, you have to say your position, and then you have to say your target. So say, write them here, like you have to make an introduction. So you have to make full details about yourself. For example, my name is blah and blah. I am a student at the University of something. I study, you have to say the major. I am making this survey since I need to collect some data or some information about blah and blah. My target is something. So you have to give full details about every single target you have. And by the end, say, please fill down the answers and fill down your own personal questions. Now, we will start now by the questions. At the beginning, so once we start making the questions, so here on the right side, you have the types of questions that I've told you about before. So we have multiple choice. Okay, here we have short answer. Suppose that we will use it. Okay, short answer. I need my audience just to come up with some personal questions. So I will say your name. Okay, now in the name, so they have to come up with their names here, but it's not necessary for your audience to come up with their names. So we will get some some information regarding their ages and genders and so on. Okay, now suppose that you have here at the beginning, you have like a good introduction. So you don't need your audience, or you need your audience to read it. So it's good to, after making it, so you have to come up with this option to add section. Okay, now once we add section, so this is the end of section 1 that includes a title and introduction. And section 2 will be titled as, if you want, personal questions. Okay, and then you can start your questions. So we can add, for example, age. Okay, so write age, and you have to choose the type of questions. Now, I will recommend you to come up with multiple choice options. So, for example, if your age is from 10, for example, to 15, option 2 is from 16 to 20, and option 3 is from 20 to, for example, 25, And here, for example, we have more than 25. It depends on the search that you've made. Okay, now I am done with my first question. So what to do? So I have to come up with this sign. It is add another question. I will need you just to focus on how to have it. So once I go to add question, so the first question regarding the age is done now. Okay, and I am now to the next question. So for example, the next question, personal question, will be something like gender. The options will be male or female. Okay. And this is the end of my next question. Okay, and that's it. So I will say add another section. Now I'll tell you, if we go to this one here, it is the sign of an eye. It is preview. I will tell you how my survey starts by. Okay. So it will be started like this. This is the title and this is my introduction. So the audience will go through this one. Okay. He will go through next. Once we go next, we will go personal questions. Now in every section, we will keep having this title. So we will have these questions. So the first question is age. I can choose something. Okay. And the second one is like this. And then we will get a next option. It is over there. Okay. Now I'll go back to my survey. Okay. Now the next one, the next, section, I will start directly now with the questions itself. So I will make a title like survey questions. Okay, so I will make the first question. Okay, it's over there. So you have to number your questions. It's perfect to number your questions. And I will make a question here. For example, what is the aim of e-learning? Okay. You have to come up with some options. So as I've told you before, we have multiple choice answers. We have something called checkbox. Now, the difference between them is that in multiple choice, your audience will be able to answer one answer only. In checkbox, you have the space to have more than one answer. I'll tell you how. Okay, suppose that we have checkbox like this. So in option 1, I will have, for example, I will let some random ones. So I will have A, B, C, and D, for example, like this. Okay, now once I have this one, I'll tell you how to make it. Okay. Okay, now this is the question that I have in checkbox. So me as an audience for this survey, I will, for example, I will choose this answer and this answer. So I will have the choice just to choose these two answers. This is in checkbox questions. You see? Okay. Now the other question that I will have, for example, how to get a benefit, or it's not necessary, how to get, okay, suppose that we have any question. I'll tell you about the shapes of answers. So I will have here, I will have something like linear scale here. If you have to have some rates or something like that, if you want to drop down something from your desktop, if you want to file and upload, if you want to upload a file, but this is actually, it needs you like space. So the questions that you will depend on is either short paragraph, short answer, or a paragraph, multiple choice, checkbox. We'll get through this one. I'll tell you how. So we will have two, like these options. I will tell you A, for example, B, from A to B. You have to fill up some answers, and the choices will be from 0 to 5 as maximum, or no, you can get 10. Okay, I'll tell you now how to find this question. I'll tell you how. Okay. So these are the first questions. Here it is. Okay, so this is my answer, my question, and I have to come up with a rate. So I have to choose this rate, for example. It depends on the question that you've made. This rate or that rate, and so on. You see? Okay. Now the other question, I'll tell you something about, I'll write something random. Okay. I'll tell you something like multiple choice grid or checkbox grid. Okay. This will be needed by you. So we will have rows and we will have columns. So the rows that we will have will be as A, for example, B, C, and D. Okay. And for the columns, it depends on the answers that you will have. I will say like A1, A2, A3, A4, it depends, okay? Now I'll tell you how it will appear. Okay, here it is. So I will match A, for example, with A2. I will match B with B3, for example. I will match C with A1. I will match D with A4. So this is the shape of the questions. And checkbox, a grid, the same as, so I will have, this is number 4. Okay, I will choose the type like this again. So we will have A, B, C, and so on. And here we have A1, A2, A3, A4, for example. Okay. I'll tell you how the checkbox grid will appear. Okay, it's over there, as you see. Okay, so this is the difference between the multiple choice grid and the checkbox grid, as you see. So I have the space to have 2 answers. So in A, I can match it to A1 and A2. For B, I will have it for A3. In C, I will have it for this one and that one. You see, I can have 2 answers, whereas in multiple choice, no. In multiple choice, I have only one choice. Okay. Okay, now let's continue with another question, just to see the options that we will have. So this is the question. And here we have, if you want to come up with the date and time, okay, so let's see what do we have. So here we have a date. So if you ask your audience to come up with a date, so it's perfect to come up with something like that, date or time. If you need them to have, the answer will be time. So I will get it like this one, just to see what we will have. Okay. So let's see what we will have. Okay. Now here is the question. I need you to come up with a time. So you have to write the time here by yourself. Okay. And here you have to choose if this is AM or PM. And this is the question. Okay. So this is the form that I have. Okay. I'll say it at the beginning. Okay, so we will have a title here, an introduction. If you want to go to another section, you have to go to it through this option, this one. If you want to add a video here, you can add it, or a picture, or if you need to add a title and description, or if you want to import some questions. But actually, for me, I need no options of them. Okay, suppose that now I need to get my responses. If you want to accept responses, so you have to activate this button, and if you don't or if you want to stop accepting the responses, so you have to deactivate it and you will receive no more responses. Okay, now for the settings, you will get, if you want to make this form as an exam, so I'll tell you some information. Like if you want to make it as an exam, so make this as a quiz, so you have to activate this. Now to release the grades, if you want to immediately give your students the results after the question, okay, so you have to activate this button. And if you want to give them later on, so you have to activate this button. Now the difference between them is that in the first one you have to come up with the answers so that your students will see the answers, especially if they have a fake response. So they will get the answers and they will come again with a new response. But with the later, after manual review, it's not necessary for you to come up with the answers so that your students will not be able to see the answers. Okay, now if you want your students to see the missed questions, the correct answers, the point values, you can activate these buttons. And so I'll tell you something now about how to make the points. Okay, suppose that I have this question, for example. Okay, for example, this question. Okay, I'll go through these settings again. Just to make 1 point for everyone. Okay. Yes. So here we have some answers actually, sorry, some options. Like if you want to duplicate this this question, like if I make it like this, I will duplicate it. Okay. If you want to delete it, if you want to make this question required, so the audience will not be able to move to the next question unless they answer this one. So just make this as this. I mean to activate this pattern that it is required, and a red star will appear behind it. Okay, now if you want to make some decoration, so you can make it through this. If you want to make something like that, as you see. Okay, I will choose this one. Okay, and if you want to choose an image, okay, for example, I will choose this one, or you can choose whatever you want if you want to upload it on your desktop. Okay, now I will preview you how the final image of my survey. So this is my final one. So okay, so for the email, it is required. So it is so necessary to have an email in order. This is the meaning of required that I've told you before. So I can't move to the next one unless I answer it. Okay, so I have these questions. Next, this is the rest of my questions. And by the end, I have two options. I have back and I have submit. This is the end, so I have to make submit. By the end, if I make submit, so the it will say submit another response. It is a question. If you want to submit another response, or it will say that your response has been recorded. Okay, now I'll tell you how to send this this form or this survey to your audience. Okay, now there is an option here. It is send. If I go to send, I will go to this icon and I will find a link. So I will just copy it. Okay, copy, and I will paste it wherever I need. Okay, so for example, I go to paste it on any. Okay. So once I go and paste it on WhatsApp, on Messenger, so I will go through the form. So this is the way how I make my survey. So it is perfect for you to send the final link for your audience. That is all. Thank you for listening.